Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Glow Beyond podcast, where we redefine wellness for a skin condition. I'm your host, Rocky Wong. Today, I want to dive deep into a topic that is very close to my heart, which is building confidence with skin condition. I think confidence is something that I struggled growing up, even though I looked very confident. And I think even until today, showing up on social media every single day, I still get a lot of questions regarding confidence because people always ask me, hey, Roy, how can I show up as you do? Because it seems like you just do it so effortlessly. You're just out there wearing whatever that you want and showing up just as you are. And it is something a lot of people still struggle with. And I do not want to undermine that because it is actually very difficult to get yourself out there. I think in a sense, it's also like coming out of the closet as who you are with all your skin and flakes and everything. And because I realize that there are still a lot of people out there who are struggling with just showing up as they are, and hence I would like to talk a little bit about confidence. Before we start, I just want to mention that this episode is specially sponsored by CeraVe, the number one recommended skincare brand by the dermatologists in the US. I personally have been on this journey with CeraVe for a few months now, and I'm truly loving how CeraVe products have been supporting me in my daily life, keeping my skin moisturized and happy and calm all day long. All right, let's get back to topic. Confidence is not something that we acquire overnight. It really takes a lot of conscious practice day to day, and it shows up in all the mini choices that we make every single day for ourselves. It's just like trying to cultivate a healthy diet. Every single choice of food that we put into our body either contribute to our well-being or they don't. And I think it's also the similar concept for confidence. There are choices that would actually empower us, but it can be also hard to make. There are choices that could be easier to make, but it's not helping us to build our confidence in the long run. And especially with skin condition, sometimes it can feel like things are going against us, which make things a bit more complicated. Why is confidence so important for us? I believe that confidence really gives us the freedom to be ourselves, to show up as ourselves in different settings of our life. Confidence affects us when it comes to work, when it comes to relationship, and also the way that we make decisions every single day. And I think confidence is one thing that would really continue to empower us to show up fully in our lives so that we can also live a full life the way that we want. So I think one question that is really helpful for all of us to ponder upon at this point of time is, do you actually know what kind of life you want for yourself? And sometimes when we are trying to answer this question, a lot of doubts and also fear and anxiety will come up because deep down inside, we don't really believe that we deserve the life that we want. And one of the things that we can rebuild that belief is through building confidence. And today, I really want to share a lot of small ways and intimate ways that we can do every single day to cultivate that confidence slowly but practically. I think I would really want to take this approach slowly but surely in terms of building confidence. I think a lot of content out there, it would encourage people to, like, oh, you watch this video and you do these 4 days and then you can become confident overnight. But honestly, this journey is not like that. And personally, I took many years to cultivate the courage to just wear a t-shirt outside without caring about what other people think of me. So today, I'm really excited to share some of the ways to do that. So let's dive right into it. The number one thing that I would really highly encourage you to do is to establish a private ritual of self-love. We talk about self-love all the time, right? We talk about needing to accept ourselves when we don't like ourselves, being very aware of our weaknesses and strength. But have you ever envisioned how does self-love look like in action? And I think one of the things that we struggle the most with is we really don't feel great touching ourselves because while we touch ourselves, we all know that sometimes it feels like a sandpaper and then you will get flicks all over our space around us. And also when we touch ourselves, we just get reminded of how disgusting we feel about ourselves sometimes. And I think even though, right, disgusting is a heavy word, but it is true that we sometimes feel disgusted by ourselves. And I want to invite us to do something very simple to change that. First and foremost, highly encourage you to cultivate and create a space where you can just be there to quiet down your mind and to just be comfortable in your own skin. It can be in a bathtub, it can be in a space like a small space in your room in front of the mirror, or without mirror also can. Or if you're into books, if you love reading, you can set up like a reading corner for yourself just for you to sit there so that you can be alone with your thoughts and also emotions. The next thing that you can do is to engage in a physical act of care. It can look like you applying skincare on your body, like I apply CeraVe moisturizer every single day after I shower in front of the mirror. If the space is the bathtub, it can be you taking a long, warm bath with music, with candles, with very warm lighting, so you are totally relaxed. And while you are carrying out the action, you want to also include affirmation of your worth. One thing that I think that is important for us to take a look into is our relationship with our body. And for the longest time, I didn't like my body and I've never thought that I was attractive or sexy. And that's why like I couldn't really envision, right, people thinking that I'm attractive or sexy or beautiful. And I think when it comes to this, it's so important for us to heal the relationship with our body because essentially a lot of times it's actually broken. Is and one of the things that I do, I really want to share about this is actually Honopono. For the ones who don't know about this, Honopono is actually an ancient practice from the Hawaii region. It actually came from a spiritual teachers of Hawaii a very, very long time ago. It's a very simple practice, but it's very, very effective. And it was popularized by Dr. Hen Liu in the 1980s. But the essence of it is to just say these few words, these few very, very powerful words to yourself and your body. You can even put into good use to heal the relationship between you and the people around you. But today we are going to focus on the relationship with our body and our skin. So what we do is we say these few words. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I used to do this with some of my coaching clients back then. And actually, there are a few of them who actually cried because they have never really sit with their emotions and thoughts about their body before. Because every time we do that, we are just so overwhelmed with negativity and a lot of criticism for ourselves. And it can actually be very overwhelming. And if you're listening to this, and if you can, I would just like to invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, breathe in and breathe out. And just listen to this few words that I'm going to say. As we sit together with our body and our thoughts about our body, be okay with all the emotions and thoughts that come up and ease into this. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Let's do it one more time. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And I want to invite you to slowly open your eyes. In this space, notice what come up in your mind and your body and just sit with it. And whatever that come up, take a deep breath and just let it go and let it pass. This simple exercise has managed to heal a lot of my relationship with my body, and I hope that it will give you the ease and comfort that you need at this moment. And like all things, it will only be really useful when we make it a habit. Just create like a daily and weekly ritual to do this while you can, so that it will eventually just become a habit. And sometimes even while you're showering, you can just start saying this to yourself to kind of just break the chain of negativity that comes up in our own mind about our body when we are engaging in all these activities. One very simple thing that I do is that every time when I stand in front of the mirror, I used to hate the sight of myself. I used to think that the bumps on my skin, the dry skin is very disgusting. But as I do it even more often, it just kind of naturally be more comfortable with the sight of myself in front of my mirror. Second thing that I would really want to encourage you to do, as cliche as it sounds, is to redefine beauty for yourself. And I understand for a lot of people, a lot of ladies especially, growing up, we have been identified with certain level of beauty standards that we are being bombarded with from the magazines, from the MTV Asia, or from everywhere else, right? And I think one of the things that we don't really talk about is actually inheriting these beauty standards from our mother. Just the other day, while I was going through wedding photos with my mom, and I just started to realize that every time she see photos of herself, she would comment like, "Oh, why I look so fat in this picture?" And then a lot of times, even when she look at pictures of me, right, she would say that like my arms are a little bit chubbier, or like when I sat down and I can see my stomach. Even though these small comments may be harmful, but come to think of it, if we grew up listening to all these comments about our body and the way that our mother comment on other people's body, I think in the process we picked up things here and there, and we make conclusion in our head that a person with belly is not attractive. If you have a big size arms and also bigger thigh, or even if you are more curvy, you shouldn't wear tight dresses that show the shape of your body. I remember when I was younger, in order to protect me, my mother herself asked me to cover up so people won't comment on my skin. The one thing that I appreciated is actually the intention of wanting to protect me. But on the other hand, I also started to learn that in order for me to be accepted into the society, I have to look a certain way, I have to speak a certain way, and I have to show up a certain way. And the parts that don't fit the society standard, I need to cover it. And honestly, it may not look like a lot, but the hurt in this can be very profound even until we grow up. We carry a lot of this perception into our adult life, and some of the conclusions are really not conducive to our well-being. For example, I will only be loved if I have perfect skin. I will only be accepted if my limbs are skinny. I will only be attractive and beautiful if I am a certain height. So we carry this forward in our adult life, and it can be really harmful to our well-being. So then, if you relate to this, what can you do? And I think one of the most important thing to do in this situation is for us to start questioning the social standards of beauty. What actually is beauty to you, to us? When it comes to this, it's very useful to take a piece of paper and just write it down. What do you actually think about the beauty standards of yourself that is imposed on you, and reflect on the list and to just differentiate, where did this come from? Did it actually come from you, or did it come from the sources around you, including the media and also your parents and also your friends? From there on, maybe you want to ask yourself whether these standards truly align with how you view the world and your place in it. And one of the things that we can do is also identify the qualities that we find beautiful. The way that we view ourselves is always the harshest. For some reason, when we focus the attention of others, we become much more accepting and much more lenient. When I look at my friend, I just realize how beautiful they are. They are caring and they are loving, and that they're so warm and they're so giving and they're friendly and they're just so, so, so intelligent. And honestly, these qualities have nothing to do with their appearance, and yet I love them as equally as I love myself. So then the question is, why can't we start viewing us that way? Why are we so harsh on ourselves and that we can only love and accept ourselves once we reach these impossible beauty standards while we don't do that to our friends? And that has got to stop, guys. It's really, really harming ourselves and our self esteem and confidence. It is time to change the narrative of beauty in our head and start to embrace and celebrate what makes us unique. Our scars tell a story. Our skin gives us the strength that we need to carry on in our lives. Our imperfection contributes the beauty of this world. And because of this, there are different stories on earth that contributes the richness of humanity. And I think we really play a beautiful part in that. Because of us, it show other people that, hey, even though I'm different, and yet I am here and I am loved. And I think that sends a very powerful message to everyone around us, the community around us, and the generation after us. We are here for a reason, guys. Please don't undermine that. It's also time for us to own it and live our life and share our story to everyone around us. All right, the third tool that I want to share is actually establishing a self-care routine. And I know that it may sound very, very normal, like self care. I do it all the time. People talk about it all the time. But I just want to talk about the importance of cultivating a useful and practical self-care routine for you. Self-care routine is not just physical, it has a lot to do with our mental health and also our emotional health as well. First thing first that we need to do is to learn how to listen to our skin needs. Our skin shows up differently, right? We wake up, sometimes it's more flaky, sometimes it's more red, but other days it can be very calm, but still flaky for some reason. And it changes day to day. And when it changes, the needs of the skin also change. Sometimes you may need to shower more, you may need to exfoliate more, and you may need to put on more moisturizer. Since we're talking about moisturizer, and since this is a sponsored episode, I want to share with you one of my favorite products from CeraVe, which is the moisturizing cream. I use it every day after shower, and I find that it's so good for my skin. And I think one of the reasons why is because it contains 3 types of skin identical ceramides, allowing the cream to absorb seamlessly into my skin, keeping it moisturized whole day long. I also I'm very impressed with their MVE technology, where it ensures long-lasting hydration. It actually releases the moisturizing effect hours by hours so that I don't need to top up all the time. But of course, in order for it to work, consistency is actually the key. So normally what I would do is I apply moisturizer right after I shower. So then while my skin is a little damp, while I apply the moisturizer, it would absorb into the skin more effectively. Like all things, it will only work when you are being consistent. Using the right product and keeping my skin calm and happy. When my skin is less flaky, I'm less bothered by all the skin around my space so that I can really focus on getting my things done or even wear darker clothing, for example. So things like this, it really contributes to my level of confidence every day because sometimes while we are talking to other people, we are just thinking about how much flakes that we are dropping in the space around us, and sometimes it can feel very distracting. Sometimes with dry skin, it can also be very, very itchy, and I find that finding the right product is really helpful when it comes to this. All right, the next thing that I want to share is this practice of focusing on what we can control. I think it's very normal for a chronic skin condition to make us feel like everything is out of our control. So then it's even more important to focus on aspects of our lives that we can have more influence over. For example, our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, and also our action and choices that we take in every day of our lives. There are moments where it was very, very difficult when my skin was flaring up very badly and it feels like my whole world was falling apart. At that very moment, that's when I truly learned how to let go of the ups and downs on my skin and just focus on what's in my head. For many, many years, whenever my skin flare up, it would truly feel like my whole world was crashing. It would make me feel like there was no tomorrow. And it felt like I was falling down a very, very dark hole and I just couldn't crawl up. I think in that very moment, that's when I truly learned how to let go of a lot of things that is related to my skin condition and how it looked like, whether or not it's flaring up or not flaring up. And I just truly learned how to focus on things that I can control. And one of the things that I can control, number one, is I very consciously choose a community around me. And all the friends that I stay in touch with, truthfully believe that they really have the best intention for me, and that if I ever need their help, they would show up, and that they would never ever think less of me. Second thing that is also within our control is the way we think about ourselves. Yes, I validate and I empathize that during moments where our skin look not very nice, it's very, very hard to think good things about ourselves. But those are the moments where I invite all of us to think about ourselves beyond our skin. Truly, truly learn how to get to know ourselves beyond our skin, acknowledging our shortcomings, but also validating and acknowledging our strengths as well. For every weaknesses that we have, there are strengths to complement it. I really encourage us to focus on our strengths instead of our weaknesses. That's when we slowly can change the narrative in our head, that we can start to appreciate ourselves and all the good that we are, despite how our skin look like. And the third thing that we can really consciously choose is the food that we put in our body. Whether or not you like it, we have to acknowledge the fact that if we eat healthy, if we prioritize food choices that nourish us, it would actually play a very big difference in our skin and hence very big difference in our mental and emotional well-being. Every single food choices that we put into our mouth either contributes to our health or the other way around. And I think if we start to consciously cultivate the practice of choosing good food for our body, it would make a whole lot of difference. I truly believe that if we focus our effort into these three things, it would make a very big difference in our lives. So please give it a try. Despite how much our skin control our life, it's time for us to really take charge and own our journey so we can play an active part in our own healing journey. And all in all, coming into the end of this episode, I'd like to remind you the most important steps that we can take in embracing the whole of us so that we can become more confident and more of ourselves. It starts with us embracing our story. I know sometimes it's very easy to be in denial of our journey and our identity with being a chronic skin condition warrior because it can be so tiring and so overwhelming. And oh my God, this journey is so difficult and sometimes I hate it so, so, so much. And I'm with you. But this really doesn't help. We can have all the stories in our head, but it doesn't change our reality. But the day where I told myself that one day I am going to make a meaning out of my journey and give a purpose to me having a skin condition in this life, that's when I changed my narrative because I realized that I was no longer a victim. I take charge and I will be the one who decide how my life would look like. Because when I was younger, I used to think that Because of this condition, nobody's ever going to love me. Because of this skin condition, I would never achieve my dream life and my dream career. And because of this skin condition, I would just be a very sad and depressed person throughout my whole life. So for a longer time, I carried this conclusion and story in my head, and hence my life turned out like that. But the moment I decided to change that, my life started to change as well. So then I would end this episode with asking you this question. What actually is a story in your head? And how is your life looking like today? Then I want to ask you, how do you want to change that narrative in your head to achieve a different story that you want, that you aspire to? And I promise you, your life will look very, very different when you change the story in your head. All right? Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I really, really hope that you will find this episode useful. And I also hope that it will instill much more hope in your journey dealing with a chronic skin condition. And please don't forget to always glow beyond your skin condition. I will see you in the next one. Bye.